And that is a big part of our legacy in terms of wanting to preserve the Greek identity, the culture, the language, the dance. We've been involved in all of that and will continue to do so.
Welcome to another edition of ITHAKA, the Journey of Great Hellenes, a new podcast and speaker series powered by THI, the Hellenic Initiative, featuring prominent Hellenes and Philhellenes from around the world who reflect on their journeys and the Hellenic principles that guide them. Today's conversation features a real power couple, THI board member Cathy Papoulias-Sakellaris and her husband and founding THI board member George Sakellaris. Cathy is a leader whose career has spanned senior executive roles in global strategy and marketing at some of the world's most well-respected global institutions, including Procter Gamble, Nielsen, ITT, and Dun Bradstreet. In recent years, Cathy has devoted much of her time to philanthropy, mentorship, and strengthening the institutions that support the Greek Diaspora and the next generation of leaders. George Sakellaris is a pioneer in the energy service business. He is the founder, chairman, and CEO of Ameresco, a global clean energy powerhouse, transforming how governments, universities, and businesses produce and use energy. Ameresco was selected as Fortune's Change the World list and MIT's Top 10 Smartest Companies. Please welcome George and Cathy Sakellaris.
We're delighted once again to welcome Hellenes worldwide to THI's ITHAKA, the Journey of Great Hellenes. And it is extraordinary honor for me to introduce two very close friends who are married. I call them the golden couple for all that they've accomplished. We're going to have a wonderful opportunity to unpack some wonderful stories about their journey, their ITHAKA, through the world, through Boston, and the lasting impact they have had on Greeks and, in fact, the world worldwide. So, George and Cathy, we've been the dearest of friends for a long time. So, on the one hand, I find this very easy to do. On the other hand, I'm a little intimidated because as I was prepping for this a little bit and thinking about what you all have done over so many years, I hope we have, within 30 minutes, the opportunity to cover some of it. So this is about ITHAKA. This is about the journey. So why don't we start there, maybe? I think it would be fascinating for our viewing audience to have a chance to delve into where you came from, your ancestors, your roots. Cathy?
Yeah. Well, just first let me say that it's an honor and a privilege to be doing this with you today as a fellow Spartan. So I guess our roots go all the way back to Sparta.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
That's good. We can start there.
Which kind of has set the tone for everything we've done, because we believe that all things are possible when you have a passion and you put the right energy and focus to things. But my journey really began with my ancestors who came from Greece in the early 1900s, 1901, 1903, on both sides of my family. They came from Giordizi, which is outside of Sparta, and my father was born outside of Tripoli, and he came with his family actually he came later. My papu went back and forth. He came to America in 1903, bought a farm, and kept going back. My yaya didn't want to come to the United States, and it took a while to convince her. But they were definitely pioneers, and they came thinking that they were going to bring all the values and traditions that they had in Greece to America. They really thought they were helping to create a better democracy in America. And they were instrumental in building the churches. They're the people that you read about that sold their jewelry and whatever they had to build the Cathedral of Boston. My yaya had 13 brothers. They were all priests. And they left as missionaries. They left from Giordizi. They went around the world to spread the Greek faith. So our family was very much faith-based in terms of orthodoxy, and family really drove how our family was, how we lived and how our family went on in the United States.
Extraordinary. So you were born here.
I was born
Where?
American, first generation Greek American. And, I think similar to many of us, our family tried to hold on to the traditions and the heritage and the language. So we went to Greek school and we went to church every Sunday, and we were members of Goya. And my mother was the head of the Philanthropos at the cathedral. She was very, active and involved. And, service was important, giving back to the community, but most importantly, keeping our traditions and our faith. And I think, our family felt that was very important. So I think that really drove who our family was and became. And I think the most important thing was that the family believed that anything could be accomplished with hard work and determination. And that definitely, helped me move forward in my lifetime.
Well, it's very evident in your career. George, you were born fairly close to, let's say, Yudici, Sparti. I mean, we like to claim you these days. Tell us about where you were born, your youth.
Again, thank you for this opportunity. And
Thank you.
not only you're a great friend, but above all, you're a great Hellene. And you have done a lot for the community, and I think it's greatly appreciated.
Well, back at you, Yorgo.
Myself, very humble beginnings. The village outside Sparta, Vassara, it's up in the mountains, basically. And growing up and thinking about the journey, my journey started by establishing little goals. One of the primary objectives that I had in life, because my parents, they push a lot, education. You want to change your life, the hard work that you do in the village and so on, or the farm, you have to get out of the village. And we have to go to high school in Sparta. So my first goal was to go to high school in Sparta, get the education. And then one thing that happened is how things evolved. I was 16 years old, and we had a trip to the factory, hydroelectric plant in Ladonas. And after we visited the site and we looked at it, and I said to myself, it's interesting. Someday I think I would love to build one of these things. So that's how my next journey started. And then finished in high school, because even though I had a scholarship in the high school, it would not be enough money to go on to college. And then I thought either I go in the military and become an officer, or come to the United States and exchange student. So that was the next mission, to get out of the country and come to the United States, get my education. And of course I went to the University of Maine, and I got my electrical engineering degree and started working for the electric company. And sure enough, the first job that I had, I was a startup engineer with a hydroelectric power plant. So it's amazing how the life evolves. And then after that, I was at New England Electric, and I used to do strategic planning for them. What kind of generation we would need, power plants, whether it's nuclear, whether it's coal. And back in '79, when there was the oil embargo, we came up with a long-range strategy to cancel some of the nuclear power plants and get into the energy efficiency business. And that, of course, it created the great opportunity for me.
So did you have relatives here that you found when you came over?
No, I did have my mother's sister was at Maine, and that's why I went
Maine,
to
that's why,
University of Maine.
okay, yep.
That is correct.
So just imagine what that was like to come from southern Greece and end up in Bangor, Maine, when you've never seen so much snow in your life, right? Tell them about that. And he arrived on a Greyhound bus.
I always asked myself, what are you doing here? Let us know. And I didn't know. I knew some English, but not very well. And going to electrical engineering and studying, it was very difficult the first 6 months, the first year. But after that, it became fun.
Extraordinary.
Yeah. But on the other hand, and this is what our culture and our parents teach us, the hard work and perseverance, determination and perseverance. And I think if anything got me where I am today, it's that perseverance. And believing that whatever you can do, you put your mind to it, whether it was getting out of the village or going to high school, then going to college and so on. it was that attitude that you can do whatever you put your mind into it. That was taught from the beginning.
Were you running into Greek Americans in school? How did you find the Greek American acceptance or the culture?
It was tough, especially in May, and it was difficult. They used to call us displaced persons.
Sure.
But I would say they were back then Paul, John, two other Greek boys in the college, and two women. Both of the boys, they were from Greece. The women, they were from the United States, one from Poland and one from, I think, New Jersey somewhere. Yeah.
So you've always been around that New England community, whatever. How did the two of you meet?
How do you think we met, George? How do you think Greeks meet other Greeks?
I can do this one at a time separately, Hillary.
So we met at a Greek dance. I was 21, working for Procter Gamble, and I saw George dancing, and I went up to him.
Or
yeah, exactly.
Of course.
And he used to dance that, in Greece.
In high school.
Didn't we? We all did, and I was dancing it here, you were dancing it there.
So I went up to him and I complimented him, and that was the start of our friendship.
And this was where?
In Boston, at the Copley Plaza, at the Mistletoe Ball that you...
At the Mistletoe Ball, exactly.
Yeah.
There's an example, the Mistletoe Ball, of Greeks who've been here for a long time, who just get here, come together.
Right.
What was the attraction?
That organization, which I've been a member of for years, it started as a war relief effort during World War I to bring orphans from Greece and find placement for them. And they were working with the royal family in Greece. And it's an organization that has 40 members, women, and they have the longest running ball in Boston, Christmas ball.
Sure.
And also, they're one of the oldest philanthropic organizations in the United States.
How did you find your way there, George, to that Mistletoe Ball on that fateful evening? Yeti.
Because you like our Greek culture a lot, and then if there's something going on back then, we will go to it. And actually, that's something that's what you guys are doing with the Hellenic Initiative is very good, because there's not that many things going on. But back then, we used to have dances, Greek dances, just about every other week.
That's exactly
and
right.
And the Mistletoe had a great reputation, great knowledge, and that's why I went to. I was lucky. That was my night.
No question there. You married up like I did,
right.
as we say. Okay.
Yeah.
So you meet in Boston. The both of you are pursuing your careers in Boston. You Procter Gamble, Boston.
I actually started in Boston, and then I was in Cincinnati. I started in sales, and then went into brand management in Cincinnati. We were just friends for a while, and then I returned to Boston. Had a satellite office. I was working in Manhattan for ITT, and I ran a division. I ran a division of North America for a technology division. We were selling PCs and printers and things along that line. And my satellite office was right across the street from George's office.
Of course.
and
which one of you arranged that?
It was just, by accident. And then, we started seeing one another. But at that point in time, we were both launching our careers. So it was, we would see each other when we could.
But each of you holding on to your roots, obviously. I mean, so here you are sort of separated by 75 years, really. You had just arrived. Your people came here in 1901.
Yeah.
And yet,
but the interesting thing is, George, I think we're all brought up the same way. And that's why organizations like THI, as Hellenes worldwide, we have more in common than not in common. We are actually brought up with the same values, the same traditions. And the thing I love most about THI is I feel like the people that I've met have now become my extended family worldwide. Mm-hmm. And I think, that's something that makes the organization special and makes our relationship to other Hellenes that we meet special.
But you're in your 20s and 30s, so you're thinking about your careers, maybe a family. I mean, you haven't yet established your own, let's say, sense of responsibility to the Greek community necessarily. We'll get to all that, but there's something, you can feel it, and it's always
Right.
holding you guys together. And so from there, married, start your careers, but still keeping the bond with the church. What do you think the role of the church has been compared to other
it's a-
organizations?
I mean, it's a key.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the key elements, faith in the church. And in high school, we had to take courses, religion courses, in order to graduate. So that played a key role and continues. And once we met, okay, we love each other, but the mission was to get married and have a family, and be part of the community and the church. No question about it.
I just want to
So
say
for you,
this,
Cathy?
Yeah.
both of our families, our parents were profoundly religious. And George's parents wanted us to help build a church outside of Boston in Braintree, Massachusetts. And we were instrumental in galvanizing the community. And
I remember.
And we had a concert at Symphony Hall,
Sure
and
did.
we organized a lot of fundraising efforts to build this church. And I think we did it out of a sense of duty, and to our ancestors and our parents, but also to the community. And it was probably one of the most significant things that we've done in terms of
One of the greatest satisfaction
Yes.
that you get.
It's fascinating. We like to say at THI, a rising tide lifts all boats, meaning you have the church, you have culture, you have family, and they're just so inextricably tied together. But how do you see it in future generations? How do your children respond to your visions of what it is to be of a Greek heritage, religion? Where are the challenges that we see?
The challenge is in this society, there are too many pulls in too many different directions.
too many
That's wh-
distractions.
That's why not only the parents, us, that we try to bring them into the church and so on, but it's the community too. That they need a community that they belong to, and thereby that will hold them together, and hopefully they will propel to the future generations.
Clearly that motivated the two of you to
Right.
do all the things you're doing, and with all you've done around Boston. It wasn't just the church.
Right.
Why don't we talk about some of the philanthropic efforts you guys have
Go
engaged
ahead,
in?
George.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if we have enough time to do that. Real
Well,
quick.
we started first establishing a scholarship for Papoulias-Sakellaris fund for the students that get out from Lowell High School in order to go to university, because that Paul, of course, he came from that environment, and then helping the University of Maine a lot, then my alma mater there, then helping, of course, the Northeastern University, and then the children go to Stanford, and it keeps
I
going.
understand.
Then our church, whether it's the Patriarch or the Leadership 100, and we do a lot for Save the Children in Greece. And
Yeah, let's talk about that. So
Mazzy,
you've done, obviously, in the United States, around the Greek community, there is no couple that I know who've done more than the two of
Yeah.
you. I mean, you literally define the word philanthropy.
Right.
But increasingly, it's also tying back to Greece.
Right.
Why do you feel?
Well, let me
the
just say
need
this.
to do
During
that?
George can speak to this, but during the economic crisis, we found that a lot of friends and family were looking for help and assistance, whether it was helping their children finish their education
Right.
or weddings or things along that line. And we were helping people. And then George decided he was going to do a roll up of olive groves, and instead of having people not working, put people back to work. So we did that as an effort to help during that time period. And then also George became actively involved in bringing Ameresco to Greece and creating jobs for contractors. I mean, how many people in total do you think are employed through the contracts?
Directly, we have about 15 to 20 people, but some of the solar farms that we install right now, it's probably 500 people just on one site.
That they've given
But
jobs
they are
to.
local electrical contractors, mechanical contractors, and so on. And the other one, it's probably over 1,000 people that we employ over there right now.
In addition to, obviously, your sympathies, your heart for your homeland, do you find the same hardworking principles, almost, do you feel the same DNA with those people where they work hard, they're the type of employees you want? I mean, what are you seeing over there?
I'm amazed on some of them. First of all, why I went there, especially with this government, is very good. And that's how I brought my company in Greece, because I love Greece and I want to contribute. There are some great talent there, but what we brought into the more processes and more dedication and a little bit harder work than what they would otherwise do. And sometimes if you establish goals, say, listen, guys, we got to finish this particular project by this particular date, and then you set milestones in order to get there, and they react to it. They react to it. And actually, some of the people that we have hired in some of the construction sites, they're amazing. I will put them up against anybody in the world, but they just need a little bit guidance to. And that's what we can bring back to Greece. Some of the principles that we have in the United States and how we execute, whether it's a project, whether it's a study, whatever it might be, we bring it back. I think they have the capabilities to take themselves much farther than what they believe they can do.
And the potential's enormous.
Well, exactly. I mean,
In
reversing
Greece.
the brain drain, as you've often told me, Cathy, that's clearly one of the goals of the Hellenic Initiative.
Right.
We employ right now, reversing the drained brain, 3 individuals from London that have come back to Greece
That's
and
fantastic.
work in some of our projects.
That's fantastic. We'll get to some of Greece's challenges a little bit later, but I'd like to come back to Ameresco. And, you know, what was that spark of initiative, genius, whatever, that led you to form this incredible company? Well, how did that come about?
We go back to 1979 when the oil crisis, when we had with Iran. Back then, I remember at New England Electric, we were $3 per barrel of oil. And then it went to 80, 90, and that's when we came up with a long-range strategy to do away with some of the centralized power plants. We canceled 2 nuclear power plants back then, and then get to the energy efficiency business. And then I proved to the management that it was cheaper, because the marginal cost of the new was so much higher, it was cheaper to promote conservation and energy management and do with less power plants.
There were not a lot of people doing that back then.
No. And then one of the guys on the board of directors, he was actually from the Shell oil company. He said, well, if you guys, you're not going to be growing and selling more KWH, why don't you get to the business and do energy efficiency projects on that site? And then the following day, my mentor, Guy Nichols, who was the chief executive officer, called me up. He said, George, you've been dreaming long enough. Why don't you set up a company to do that? And basically, that's how it's all. We were the first company in the United States back in 1980 to establish and do this kind of energy, what we call energy services efficiency.
And you went public when?
Well, what happened, I built that company up for New England Electric. And then new management came in. They didn't want the company. And then they asked me to sell some of the assets. And then I said, great, I will buy what's left.
No kidding.
So I bought that company back in 1990. And,
At the time we were getting married, just so you can understand how much stress
Things were going
there
on.
was.
Ameresco. And I built that company to a national company. Then I sold it in 97. And then to Equitable, the gas company out of Pittsburgh. And then I stayed there for a couple of years. I got bored. I left, and Cathy told me, I wasn't pretty happy. And then Cathy one night says, you know why you're not that excited about what you're doing? I said, what? He says, before you used to be out there selling to the customers. Now, anytime I had the idea, I had to go to Pittsburgh to sell it to that management, very stodgy utility, you know. Anyway, so and then I set up Ameresco, and we went public 10 years later. And right now on the, I don't know if you read some of the Frost and Sullivan reports, we are number one in the United States.
Yes, I am familiar with them. Yeah. So how has the business plan of Ameresco evolved at all? How do you see it in today's, I'm fascinated, and we'll get to this if we can.
Yeah.
For our listening audience, this is 7 days after the invasion of Iran.
Yeah.
The Strait of Hormuz has been closed. Oil has gone from $56 to $82 a barrel. And there's a lot of confusion in the world. And most pundits would say it's all about energy. So there is no more timely opportunity to talk to these two people than right now. So how do you think about all of that?
Thank you. Well, going back to the Ameresco, the energy situation, people don't realize that we have that energy efficiency, you can save about 25 to 30% of the energy at a very good payback. That's one. And the other one, the transformation of it, what we have done with Ameresco, we started out as an energy efficiency company, but we incorporated all kinds of new technologies like the battery storage, like the microgrids. The microgrid is a computer that controls what we call distributed generation. It might be gas turbines, it might be reciprocating engines, it might be solar farms, whatever the case might be. And 50% of our business now is all this distributed generation. And what I've been saying, and what I've been saying to the industry, that because of my experience at New England Electric, that if the hyperscalers, they wait for the utilities to interconnect to the utility system, they will lose the race. Because to get the large power plants and the transmission lines, it's very time consuming, where if they take care of themselves, try to build distributed power generation.
Getting behind the meter.
Behind the meter. And Ameresco, we're very lucky. We have done great work for the federal government. Almost 50% of our business comes from the federal government, and some of the bases, they lend themselves for data centers, like we're doing at Lemoore, one of them, Pearl Harbor, and we're going to continue that. And that the hyperscalers like that concept because better security.
I mean, the hyperscalers
Like
right now are
Google.
spending massive money around data centers, getting behind the meter perhaps. It is just, it's an area of the economy now that has just exploded. And you combine that with the challenge of AI and what that means. I want to get to what you think it means for your children and future generations. But just to cap this part off, Yorgo, in terms of the hyperscalers and their activity now, are you seeing winners and losers yet around any of this? I know Ameresco will be a winner, but what are you seeing around the industry generally? How do you feel about it?
I will not pick which ones. The ones that they get the power plants up and running the fastest, they will win the race. And the only way the United States can win the race against China is by make sure that these guys, they go on their own and they build those power plants as soon as possible.
So how do you rate the cooperation or not of the Trump administration compared to prior generations?
I think they've done an excellent job when it comes to this. And one of the biggest bottlenecks in the built-in, even a small solar farm in a local community, is permitting.
For sure.
You know, and what I said on that article, we have the technologies, and we know how to do it in order to develop those power plants in a timely fashion. But we need help on the permitting. And that's why one of the things that I like and I promote a lot in the military bases, it's easier to site a power plant than you will do, let's say, if I come next to Richmond, Virginia. And the other thing that I said on this, it's a very important one, on the hyperscalers, if they develop their own power plants, they're remote, then it's their cost. But in order to induce the community to participate into it, because they need it for reliability, resiliency, build it a little bit larger, and let's say 10% of the capacity, sell it to the local community, or the school system, or whatever the case might be, in order to help them. And I think that will help take some of the barriers of the permitting away.
Well, it's a brave new energy world, and of course, the other thing is you married a marketing genius.
I know.
So,
of course.
So,
George.
and I have no doubt that the
No.
Pillow Talk over 20 or 30 years was the key to Ameresco's success.
No.
But so you go from Procter Gamble, you're Dun Bradstreet, right?
Yeah, I worked at Procter Gamble, and
Procter
then
Gamble.
I went to ITT,
Right.
and we did a startup there. And then from there, I went to Nielsen Marketing Research, which was a division of
Right.
Dun Bradstreet. Had various jobs there, and I ended up in a position where I was running their global business out of the UK. And so fabulous experience, wonderful career. And again, getting back to what I said earlier, is just that my parents always believed that you could do anything you put your mind to is with hard work and determination and perseverance, like George spoke about. So I think, especially in that day and age, I don't think there were a lot of women in line management, and especially at senior levels. And I think just having the support from family and the type of upbringing I had, the culture, the heritage, and the belief in oneself, and also that I'm Spartan, I was able to really have a wonderful career. And it was, again, a wonderful chapter, but I'll tell you the best chapter was getting married and having a beautiful family.
So let's talk about that. Tell us about your children.
Well, we have 2 children. Our son Peter right now is 25. He's working for Ameresco in the green gas methane division, and he's applying to grad school right now. He's in the process. He wants to go on and get a degree in nuclear, master's, and who knows where he'll go from there. But he believes nuclear is the future. And our daughter,
tend to agree with him.
Christina, she works for an AI company out of Cambridge. It's a Harvard MIT startup, and she started computer engineering software in college at Stanford. So she's there in a role within the engineering structure. She's also, she's a competitive sailor, and she's going to campaign for the Olympics in LA and the laser radial. She went to the Olympics. We took both kids to the Olympics in Greece in 2004. And she was, 5 years old? And she said, I'm going to the Olympics someday. So fingers crossed with everyone's prayers and a lot of determination again and perseverance. Hopefully her dream will come true.
So George, you have this sailing passion for sure. You both do.
Yeah.
I've been on your sailboat,
Thank you.
fortunately. What you actually compete? You're a competitive sailor.
Correct.
What is that all about? Where is it? Who is it? I mean, when do you do it? Do you have a? I don't know how you find the time to do it, but sometimes I find you're in St. Bart's. Other times I find you're in Corfu. What is this sort of? What's that all about?
If you love a sport, you find the people, you find the time.
We had no sailing in Sparta, though. I mean, you can't sail up and down Tayutos.
I came from the mountains, but I love challenges and I love risk. And my
Challenges
boat,
and risks, did you hear?
Well, and indeed,
the key.
and that also rubbed off on your 2 children. So
Yeah,
I'm curious
it
about
did.
this. So we have.
I just want to mention George
Yeah.
and Christina are running the Boston Marathon in April. And George did run marathon in Greece a few years back, from Marathon to Athens. So they're very competitive with all their sports.
Anyway, how I got into it, Guy Nichols, my boss at New England Electric, when I used to do strategic planning, he will call me up in the afternoon and says, George, what are you doing? What do you tell him? X, Y, Z thing. He says, let's go sailing.
Huh?
Back in the 70s, down at Newport.
So he probably said, you're a Greek, you must know how to sail. You didn't tell him you're a
I
Spartiatis.
had no clue how to sail. Anyway, he was a smart guy, though, that person. And after, we will go for dinner, have a glass of wine or 2, and then he will say, what do you think we're doing right? What do you think we're doing wrong in the company? And he will always invite 2, 3 people, thinkers. And that I learned a lot, and I took up sailing, and I love the sport. But like anything else, fine, you have to have a great boat, and the 72, and but
Maxi
it's a team that
72.
you put together. Mm-hmm. Like Ameresco, we're as good as our people, the team that we have together. And the same with my racing.
And so your sailing passion rubbed off on the kids. So I want to get back to children, because this is clearly, I've heard you say many, many times, it's clearly, that's what it's all about. That's what Hellenic Initiative is all about. It's that next generation, the future generation. Do you think that as you all were growing up and then marrying and starting a family, you had a pretty clear vision around your heritage, your vision. It was an anchor to windward for you. It was something to hold on to. It was something to cherish, and it consumed your life in many ways. It was the rock of your life, your faith, your belief in the Western values. Do the kids have that today? Do yours have it? And if they do their friends have it?
Yeah.
And what does all this mean? And do we have a responsibility around some of that?
I think our children have it to a degree, maybe not to the degree that I would like to see. Unfortunately, because they are so distracted, they don't go to church like we did. They do for Easter and
Sure.
Events, weddings, christenings. So that's sort of a missing piece, but I think that has more to do with the culture in America than it has to do with them wanting to be there. It's just they were both athletes and they were never available on weekends to go to church or that sort of thing.
These children are consumed these
But
days.
they were brought up going to Greece for the summer, starting at a very young age, and then as they got into their sports, they went less and less. But they still have a feeling and a commitment to Greece, and they still want to touch down once a year in Greece and go to the village. And I think to go back to where their father was born and their grandparents, they do have a connection, and it's a very important connection. I think THI can really help with the youth. I think all of these organizations, Greek organizations right now, they're all in transition and they're all trying to figure out how to bring in the younger generation. And I think that's going to be our biggest challenge moving forward. The Greek population worldwide has diminished significantly in the last 20 years. We're down to 15 million worldwide. And as there's more intermarriage and there's the generations start moving out, there's less and less people that identify with being Greek. So I see THI as really the only organization right now, at least that I'm familiar with, and I belong to a lot of, I'm involved with a lot of different Greek organizations, that has the ability to unite the diaspora and keep the young people engaged. I see us as being the glue to help keep the community together and also help foster this identity in future generations. I think it's critical.
We often say at Hellenic Initiative, and you too, both founding directors, Cathy in particular, you bring your marketing genius and has made such a difference at THI. But we often say that Greece is not just a geography, it is a way of life. It is a value system. And
Definitely.
And indeed, the Philhellenic world, you've always reached out to. I mean, you made your way in a Philhellenic world. It wasn't a Greek world, okay? It was the Western world. It was the Anglo-Saxon world, whatever. So, I know you've often spoken about almost a responsibility we have, those of us who have been the lucky ones, to see if we can help the world carry on those Judeo-Christian values, those Western values. And so we may only be 15 million people, but in fact, it's a world that owes to Greece and its values what it is.
Right. No, it's very important. And I think we're doing very important work. And we have to continue doing the things that we're doing and bringing in the young people and putting them in positions of responsibility. I mean, eventually, THI, we have to have succession planning to bring some of these people on the board, which we're doing very effectively, and listen to the youth and find out what they need and what they want. I think they're there. We just have to figure out how to market to them and keep their interest and bring them together. And whenever they are together, they enjoy it so much.
Fantastically. So what they need and what they want. So
we have to listen to them.
Your son is going into nuclear. Both your children are seeing the challenge of AI.
Right.
And all of us are wondering what that can mean. How do you see the challenges, George, of AI now?
It's going to change our lives by far. And in the business world, for me, one of my biggest challenges right now is to make sure that we don't fall behind. And we're investing a substantial amount of money in getting the resources in order to advance the company to the next level. Because one of the biggest issues that we have is scaling. Because in order to do a particular project, you need an engineer, construction manager. Hopefully now with AI, we can scale the business even faster than we have in the past. But on the other hand, though, the AI, the personal lives, it's going to impact us a lot. Everything's going to change.
Let me ask you this. The value system that you two grew up with, the value system that you attribute to your success, the sort of Western, if I may say, Judeo-Christian, Greek value system, Hellenic value system, is it going to matter going forward? Can it matter going forward?
We got to make it matter.
Well,
we have so much to offer. It's so valuable. With Hellenism, it's a principle, it's an idea.
Exactly.
It's what keep us together.
I just want to make a marketing point, but they always say for every trend, there's a counter trend. So the more and more people became couch potatoes, the more and more they wanted to go out. Okay, so now the more and more that we see AI, people are going to want to differentiate themselves and show that they're different and unique. So I think there's going to be a benefit there. After a while, people are going to want to sort of claim their identity again, or keep their identity, I should say.
And it's the identity that you two have cherished and nurtured.
Right. I mean, AI is frightening on a lot of fronts too, in terms of
it's fascinating to think that Ameresco is right in the middle of the development of an energy infrastructure and complex that also at the same time lends itself to the development of AI. So it's a fascinating juxtaposition.
It's a changing world. You're talking about challenges. This is one of the largest challenges that we have right now. We face. Otherwise, if we don't keep up with it, we'll fall behind.
How do you see America as a nation state? And let's say that now 7 days after we've started this war, and you obviously feel very, very Greek, but you also feel very, very American. That's not inconsistent, is it?
No, not at all.
We're American first.
America is the greatest country in the world by far.
Right.
And some people that they complain about it, I think they should spend some time somewhere else and try to live there, make a life there, and then they will appreciate the United States more.
But of course, our founding fathers developed a Declaration of Independence and Constitution based on Hellenic values.
And thanks exactly to the Hellenic values that they established the democracy and so on.
Look, I know the two of you don't like to talk about yourselves, but I would very much like to unpack some of the details around this philanthropic world that you spend so much time in. What are some of the specifics, Cathy, if you don't mind?
What I will say is that George and I are both very grateful and for all that we have, and that we can give back in many different ways. So we do have a family foundation, which I run, and with my children's input and George's input as well.
Sometimes.
And so, we have different parts of that foundation. We support medical, we support education, we support education, I said, and then we also support Hellenism and Orthodoxy in a big way. And I can't think of too many Hellenic organizations that we haven't tried to help, and we will continue to do that. And that is a big part of our legacy in terms of wanting to preserve the Greek identity, the culture, the language, the dance. We've been involved in all of that and will continue to do so. And it's very meaningful for us.
How have you seen the Boston diaspora evolve over the decades? I mean, are they as active? They're doing a lot of things. As we come of age, from being peasants, all of us, from Sparta, and now that you've come into your own, are others doing that? Are they joining in? How do you see it?
Well, I think there's a generation that's been taking the lead, and that generation is getting older. So I think what we need to do in Boston is bring in the next generation of philanthropists and people that can get involved with all of these organizations. And I'm finding that every Greek organization that I'm active with right now is struggling with how to get the interests of that next generation, your children, my children. And I think that's going to make all the difference. And Boston has a strong Greek community. I think Chicago has a phenomenal Greek community, as well as New York. I think, we're very lucky.
So, in the sort of the march of history, it was the non-Greek world, those who were Philhellenes, who really helped lead the revolution in 1821, 1825, who have always come back to being attracted to Hellenic ideals and the like. And as you know, at THI, we increasingly want to reach out to the Philhellenic world so we can have that broader impact. Are you, in your charitable efforts, they're not strictly around Greeks?
No.
They're broader than
All
that.
the medical, the educational, that's all non-Greek for the most part. I will say, I think the Philhellenic or people in Boston, they're very, very strong, because Boston is an educational hub.
Exactly.
And it's a medical hub, and
Exactly.
also biotech engineering. And those individuals support all of our activities, and they do it with a lot of enthusiasm. So I think we're very lucky that
Starts
way.
from the local community, the firemen, the policemen. We try to help give back to our community as much as
Exactly
possible.
right.
Yeah.
And that is the ultimate, if you think about the Greek city-state and the values back then and what it meant, the polis, right? And so you're
Considering how small we are as an ethnic group worldwide, we are so strong. And when you tell people what our population is worldwide, they're shocked, because we have such a strong presence, and the sciences, and medical education, and the list goes on and on and on. And we should be so proud, and this is what we have to continue.
How do you see your legacies? Do you think about it much yet?
George's work, the impact on the environment, is part of our legacy as a family.
Family is number one, no question about it. And I mean, my greatest dream is that our children and grandchildren and so on, they will maintain the Greek culture, the Hellenism,
For sure.
and so on. And then on the Ameresco, one of the things that has made us where we are is that we have established the mission to lead the race to a sustainable world. And that has carried us a lot. And the ability for myself and some of the management teams that I have over the years worked with, adapting. With myself, it was easier because I adapted from the village to the high school to another country. And then, of course, as the technologies evolved in the United States. And that's one of the things that my bosses back then, they liked about me, and they asked me to be a strategic planner, because George, you can adapt. And that has helped me a lot, and the company a lot. And so we have to adapt, but we have to keep our culture, and where we came from.
On behalf of the board of the Hellenic Initiative and our tens of thousands of followers around the world, and frankly, the tens of thousands we've helped in Greece, we owe the two of you an extraordinary debt of gratitude. And you two walk softly and carry a big stick. You have a humility to you that is as heartwarming of quality and value that I have to say, that may be the one thing that's not Greek in you, your humility.
Thank you very much.
I'm honored to have this chance to be with you. I cherish our friendship. You've meant everything to the Hellenic Initiative, and that means a lot to me. And I hope that everyone listening today recognizes the extraordinary contribution of this wonderful, wonderful couple. Thank you, Cathy.
Thank you, George.
George.
Thank you very much.